I think the most significant thing to us as people who have homes in the wildland-urban interface is the fact that we've started to spread into the wildlands. We've started to build our homes in areas that were typically natural, that we would typically let a fire burn through and clean it out. But because there's homes there now, we're forced to mitigate those fires and put them out. The reality is that as people continue to build into the interface and those areas become more and more populous, it's more and more difficult for us as fire departments and fire suppression entities to handle the amount of work that we have in those locations. And it's what this means to us is that once our resources become overwhelmed, once we get to the point where we can't do any more, we're going to lose some homes.
So far, only local firefighters are battling this blaze as they wait for more help, which is still far away. This helicopter is still working at sundown tonight, making water drops on the flames. It's one of the few resources allotted to fire bosses today who are battling the Salt Creek fire in Juab and Sanpete counties. That's because there is a critical shortage of fire equipment and personnel.
With all the other fires going on in the nation, I don't know when the crews will get here, but I hope it comes as soon as they can. We need a lot of help.
Chopper 5 found the Camper World campground in Nephi Canyon suffered devastating losses yesterday. And we saw just how close the fire is burning to homes and travel trailers in the Holiday Oaks subdivision.
A lot of people have planned to retire up there, and they're seeing their whole retirement on the verge of going up in smoke.
Property owners wait for any word. Those who built fire breaks around their cabins are hoping that decision will pay off.
When we bought the property, we were concerned about fire, and the insurance premiums up there are so high that we felt the best way to take care of ourselves was to cut back trees and brush.
The wind and dry, hot conditions fueled the fire for a second day as it continues to move south towards the town of Fountain Green and northeast towards the community of Indianola. Local volunteer firefighters from Juab and Sanpete County are what's keeping the fire from getting any closer to cabins and the communities.
We really appreciate the men and women who are up there trying to stop the fire, and we know that they're doing their best, and the cabins we can replace, but we don't want to see anybody get hurt trying to save our properties.
I think the biggest thing for us, we do a lot of education work. We try to get the homeowners to clear around their homes to make sure that they do have some fire-safe areas, an area for the fire to get from the tops of the trees down to the ground so that it doesn't spread quickly and doesn't attack their homes. The problem that we have is a lot of homeowners have moved to these remote locations because they like the fact that they've got the shrubbery, they've got the trees, they're living in nature. The reality of that for us is that it creates a huge problem for us because it makes the home that's in the interface just part of the fuel. So the biggest thing for us that a homeowner can do is just to prepare their home. They can do a good job of creating that defensible space around their home. They can do some limbing up. And by that we don't mean clear cutting, we don't mean taking all the vegetation out, but just giving their home a better chance of survival.
Defensible space. There are many things that can be done to protect your home from wildfire. Most of these things should be done long before wildfire ever becomes an actual threat to your home. We will now go over several things that you can do as a homeowner to reduce the threat of wildfire around your home. To make things a little easier to understand, we divided the property around your home into 3 areas. These 3 areas are near, mid, and far. Let's begin with the area closest to your home, the near area. The near area consists of your actual home as well as any other structures within direct proximity to your home, such as garages, sheds, or decks. The first thing we will look at is the material used to construct your home. It's very tempting to make our homes blend in with the natural beauty that surrounds it. To do this, we use all kinds of wood products to construct our home. We use such items as logs, cedar shingles, and all sorts of wood siding products. Unfortunately, all these items are extremely flammable and susceptible to quick ignition during a wildfire and should not be used. Even treated material over time can still be extremely flammable. In some cases, these natural materials can be imitated with composite materials that are less flammable. The roof of your home is the most exposed portion of your house and can easily ignite from the flying embers of an oncoming wildfire. For this reason, you should pay special attention to the material used to construct your roof as well as its overall condition. Wooden shakes or shingles are, of course, the most flammable material you could use on your roof and should be avoided. Common asphalt shingles are a good choice when living within an area with the danger of wildfire. Adobe or metal roofs are also excellent choices to reduce your risk of damage or loss due to wildfire. Along with the material used to construct your roof, regular maintenance is also recommended. Each spring you should clean out your rain gutters and keep them free of leaves and pine needles. These highly flammable materials can collect in other areas as well as near your chimney, low areas on your roof, or next to walls or other areas protected from the wind where blowing leaves and pine needles can gather. Even with the protection of a well-constructed roof, you may still be at a risk from an approaching wildfire if you allow leaves and pine needles to gather on your roof. Sparks and embers from a wildfire can travel great distances, and more than likely, if they land on your roof, they will collect in the same areas as this flammable material. By paying attention to the condition of your roof and doing some simple tasks to keep it clean, you are eliminating one of the greatest risks to your home by wildfire. There are a few more things we want to look at when protecting our home from wildfire. Once again, sparks and embers are a significant threat to our homes. One of the areas we need to look at are the eaves or other possible openings that expose the roof or attic area to flying sparks and embers. Ventilation openings should be protected with tightly meshed metal screens. Eaves and overhangs should be closed to prevent increased heat buildup from nearby fire activity. Everything we have just discussed relates directly to your actual home, the structure itself. By following these steps, you can greatly improve the odds of your home surviving an oncoming wildfire. Now, moving on to the next area, the mid-area. The best way to protect your home from wildfire is to keep the fire from ever reaching your home through effective vegetation management. There are 3 things you can do to accomplish effective vegetation management: remove, reduce, and replace. Before we begin to explore these 3 things, let's go over some general landscape spacing measurements. Given a 0 to 10% slope, which is basically flat level ground, spacing should be 10 feet between the nearest branches. The distance between brush and clumps of shrubs should be 2.5 times the height of the vegetation. For a slope of 11 to 20%, you should allow at least 15 feet of spacing between the nearest branches. For brush and clumps of shrubs, spacing should be 3 times the heights of the vegetation. (21 to 40% slope), tree spacing should be 20 feet between the nearest branches. Brush and shrubs, 4 times the heights of the vegetation. These are general guidelines. Vegetation type and weather can create several variables that may increase or decrease the effectiveness of these measurements. Now that we are familiar with the type of spacing we are looking for, let's take a look at what we can remove, reduce, or replace. Starting near your home and within the first 30 feet, within this area we need to remove all dead trees and shrubs. This includes everything on the ground, as well as anything that may still be standing. Remember that falling large trees can be extremely dangerous. Large dead standing trees can be especially dangerous as they are much more difficult to cut down. If you are not experienced in falling procedures, you should consider hiring a professional to come and remove any standing trees. Remember, simply cutting this vegetation down is not enough. Allowing this brush and dead fuel to pile up near your home will only add to your risk. All dead material must be removed from at least 30 feet of your home. Once you have removed all the dead material away from your home, you can begin reducing. Reducing is best accomplished by thinning or clumping, as well as removing ladder fuels. Thinning is the process of removing selected trees and leaving others. By removing selected trees, you can greatly reduce the probability of fire spreading from one tree to another. Thinning also helps to create a healthier environment for more fire-resistant trees to grow. For smaller trees or shrubs, you may choose to use a clumping method. In this process, you will leave small groups or clumps of vegetation while clearing the area around it. Remember, the ideal clearing distance is 2.5 times that height of the trees or shrubs. The amount of thinning you will need to do will depend upon the type and density of trees you have on your property. Once you have achieved proper spacing between your vegetation, you will then need to focus on removing the ladder fuels. A general rule for clearing ladder fuels is 1/3 the height of the tree or 10 feet from ground vegetation. Keep in mind the purpose for clearing ladder fuels is to prevent the fire from spreading from the ground into the trees. The final step in effective vegetation management is to replace the more flammable fuels that we have already removed with more fire-resistant vegetation. This process will take a little bit of research and planning on the part of the homeowner, but it will greatly reduce the wildfire threat around your home as well as add to the overall beauty of your landscape. Creating a home that is prepared for wildfire is an ongoing process. Depending on your property, the initial work can require a fair investment of time and/or resources. The key to successfully keeping your property prepared for wildfire is maintenance. Included within your mid and far areas is what is commonly known as the access zone. The access zone includes all aspects of vehicle accessibility into your home or property. Although you should not rely solely upon fire suppression resources to come and protect your home from an oncoming wildfire, should the opportunity arise, it will be critical that they can find and access your home safely. In order to evaluate your access zone, let's start from a main road leading to your home. Be sure that all roads leading to your home or property are well marked. Street signs should be located at all crossroads. Street signs should be placed in highly visible locations and clear of trees and brush. It is also a good idea to ensure street signs or markers are constructed with non-flammable materials such as metal. Letters on signs should be at least 4 inches in height and made of reflective material so they can be seen in dark, smoky conditions with low visibility. If there is a bridge or culvert that must be crossed, ensure the maximum weight limit for that bridge or culvert is posted. Otherwise, fire personnel may hesitate to drive their heavy equipment across. If possible, try to avoid tight turns or steep slopes in your roads, as larger emergency vehicles may have a difficult time negotiating them. All flammable material should be cleared at least 10 feet on both sides of your driveway. Overhead obstacles such as power lines, gates, or branches should be cleared, allowing for at least a 15-foot vertical clearance. Once again, emergency vehicles may choose to pass by your property if they feel they cannot access it safely. If you have a driveway near or longer than 150 feet, you should have a clear turnaround area suitable for large fire equipment. It is also very important to ensure your home address is clearly visible. The purpose of the access zone is to ensure that firefighters can locate and arrive at your home safely and in a timely manner in the event of a wildfire. With the continuing growth of our wildland communities, local fire agencies cannot provide adequate firefighting resources for all communities and all residents. Although these fire suppression resources will do everything they can to protect you and your property, it is ultimately you, the homeowner, who has to take responsibility to protect and preserve your home in the event of a wildfire.
There are a number of things, simple things, that a homeowner can do to improve the safety of their property, their community, also make the job that the firefighter would have to do a lot easier. And I'm talking about real simple things like limbing up trees around their property to eliminate ladder fuels, removal of some vegetation to break up continuity so the fire isn't going to travel as easy from one point to another. A homeowner needs to have a plan in case that a fire does impact their property. They need to know what to do. There's generally very little time when one of these fires is occurring. There's just about enough time to gather up your few belongings and your family and get out of the way. Your home needs to be signed and marked well so emergency vehicles can find it and take action if need be. Just some real simple things that the homeowner can do, and it makes a really big difference.